Okay, it's preparing to stream, folks. It's getting ready. Here we go. Hang on one second. And okay, we're halfway. Okay, great. Done. Redirecting to YouTube.
I'm giving you
Hang on one second.
I'm about
All right.
So you're good time. I'll say later.
I'm just checking. Make sure. Hang on one second. I'm just making sure. Okay, we are on. And enjoy.
Okay. Okay. Hi, everybody. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this, so bear with me and we'll just kind of learn it together. Like Avraham said, maybe give a hand up if you want to say something, as long as he's not here, and just unmute your, when I say, okay, fine, unmute yourself, do your thing, and then mute yourself again. The reason, I think for those of you who came in late, the reason why we try to keep you guys muted is so that background noise from anyone's houses doesn't interfere and make it hard for people to hear. Okay, hi, I'm Shari. Honey, it's really nice to meet you, and Esther, it's really nice to meet you too. Okay, you all know me. I have a combination crowd here. I've got people who I know from forever and people who I'm just meeting and are moms of the Mechina boys. So this is in the Keshet Beit Midrash. So I'm going to focus on the fact that I'm a mom in here. Even my notes are on notes from a Jewish mom. Got that? Notes from a Jewish mom. Jewish mother. So to you other Jewish moms of the Mechina, before I start what I want to share with you about the quarantine, I just want you to know, besides the fact that I love your boys, I'm totally here for you. And if there's ever anything that I can do for you guys from this end, I know last year I had one of my sons was in Montreal for a year doing Shnat Sharut, and having him far away was a challenge. And knowing that there were people there taking care of him really made it easier for me. So feel free to call on me for anything, anytime. It's my absolute pleasure. Okay. Okay, so I had this really incredible experience, actually thanks to one of my Mechina boys, of having 4 days in quarantine. And who would have ever thought that I would say what a wonderful experience it was and how much I got out of it, but it truly was, and I truly did. And having been out of quarantine almost as long as I was in quarantine, I really see that it's not so easy to take the lessons that I learned into my real life, and I'm working on it. And the fact that I knew that I was going to be giving this talk, by the way, this is my beautiful daughter, Shira Tehila, for those of you who don't know her already. Having decided to do this class has actually really helped me, because I keep having on my mind, okay, what do I want to say, and what do I want to say, and what do I want to say? And it's actually helping me to keep in mind the different lessons that I took with me as I was leaving quarantine, and really try to keep them alive in my life. And it's really not so easy. So I'm really happy to have this opportunity. I'm going to share with you just a little bit of what it was like and what happened, and then I'm going to share with you how it was when I came out in the different lessons. One of the things that I did, I think my glasses are going to go on and off when I want to see my notes well, so just bear with me here. First, I'll tell you a little bit what it was like. So I spent 4 days in quarantine. I was in my room, my very small room with very little floor space, and I had my bathroom. And I put my aerobic step in my bathroom so that I could exercise, which I managed to do, which was really important to me. And anytime I needed food, I had room service. All I had to do was call my house or one of my kids' phones or my husband's phone, make an order, and then it would show up at my door. They'd leave it on the floor on the other side of my door, and then they'd go away. I'd open the door, and there was my food. And when I was finished, I left my dishes for a while, and then I put them out the door, and they were taken away and washed. I was really very spoiled. And anytime I needed something from somewhere else in the house, call them up. Can I please have this? No problem. Put it down, knock on the door. And so it was a very kind of being spoiled time. And that was really, really an interesting thing. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more afterwards. I spent a lot of time on my phone, and I'm going to talk about that also a little bit more in detail. Whether it's phone calls or WhatsApp or shiurim, internet, my phone and my iPad. depending what I wanted. Music, it was a very, very valuable kli, a very valuable tool. And it was also a big challenge because it's amazing how not alone you can be when you're alone in the world of technology. And like I said, we're going to talk about that a little bit more afterwards. I managed to, I'm not a naturally neat and tidy person. I have a certain part of me that's organized, but a certain part of me that's very not. And so my room, there's just always something more important than organizing my shelves. But when I'm stuck in my room for 4 days, what could possibly be more important than organizing my shelves? So that was a really big job that I undertook, and I did most of them, and I'm very, very happy with the results. And I did, let's see, I did crafts. I fixed a bunch of like broken jewelry, and I made some beautiful beaded things that I've been wanting to make for a long time. Listened to a whole bunch of shiurim, talked to a lot of people, gave support to a lot of people, and had time with myself. And no demands, very few demands. One very special thing that I did is my beautiful daughter over here, who's gone out of the camera, she sat on the other side of the door and I read her a book. And I helped her with some homework. So I did manage to even be there a little bit for my family. It's a totally different space. It's a totally different reality. Have any of you been in isolation quarantine? Hands up. Elaine? Dina, self-induced? Okay. It's very different when you're really alone, I would imagine. Having a very live and well and able to help family on the other side of the door made it totally different than what a lot of people experience. Hang on, I need my glasses. It's a totally different pace. It's a totally different headspace. And I had much more control. When I'm out in the world with my family, this person needs this person needs that. I have much less control. I have much less focus, especially now that everybody's home. I came out on Shabbat, which was a gift because it was a gradual change of pace. And then re-entry was like I said, it was just totally different. Okay, I said that. All that being said, anyone who has in general in life, we all have different lifestyles and different experiences and different realities. And anyone who has quarantine, self-induced or otherwise, everyone's reality is different. I'm going to try to share with you some of the insights that I gained. And my wish is that each of you is able to take something from what I learned and incorporate into your own life, into your own soul, into your own reality in a way that's meaningful for you. And if I manage to do that to even a couple of you, then this will have been absolutely worthwhile. And even if not, it's been really worthwhile for me, so it's all good. Okay, lesson number 1. Take some time to be alone. Right? These are messages that I'm taking from my quarantine into my life. Now, the truth is, I have a lot of time alone because in a normal life, my kids are in school in the morning. I have time at home by myself. But there's being alone and there's being alone. And Rabbi Karlinsky from Darchei Noam sent out, I think it was on an email that I read, that I really, really enjoyed. He spoke about being alone. And it resonated to me what he said because of what I said about the telephone. You can be alone in space in 4 walls and not be alone for a second, not be alone with your thoughts, not be alone with yourself because of this little handy tool that we probably are all addicted to in one way or another. Everything is accessible to me. Everything is in the palm of my hand. I can choose to be totally not alone. So Rabbi Karlinsky talked about the importance of allowing ourselves to be alone with ourselves. And he talked about the fact that sometimes that's really scary for people. It's really scary to be alone because what if I don't like myself? What if I don't like what I find? What if I discover ... But he also spoke about Rav Wolbe, who teaches that he ran a yeshiva and he used to implore upon his students, take some time each day to be alone with yourself. This is slightly different than Rabbi Nachman's hitbodedut, but it's not so dissimilar. But the idea of taking some time to be alone and get to know yourself. What's important to you? What do you like to do? we all live in a big hustle bustle world. One of the things that's going out there on the reshet so much is that one of the wonderful things about this whole Corona thing is people are slowing down. And when we slow down, we benefit a lot. So that's part of being alone. So I encourage us all, you know, going back into the world, it's really hard for me to have time to be alone. But now that I've made this room into my little sanctuary over here, I can come inside and close my door. Now that I know that my family can really survive without me at any time of day, should I choose to just be by myself, I can do that. And it's something that I want to try to incorporate more into my life. Because you know what? I wish you all to be able to say and feel this. I like being with me. I'm pretty good company. So why not do it once in a while, right? Okay, so that's take time to be alone. Okay, right, I said I'm a balaganist. That's a nice Hebrew word. It's hard for me to keep my stuff, my space organized. When I was the only person in this room for 4 days, and this was my space, I wasn't going to be anywhere else. It all of a sudden became more important to me that it's neat and tidy. And I swept the floor much more than I would. I organized things. It was just important for me to take care of my space. Now, I don't do that so often, but I liked it. So I'd like to try to do that more. And again, in the hustle bustle of day-to-day life, it's hard, but I've now learned the benefit and I'm going to keep trying. And given the fact that my husband is the opposite of me and he likes everything totally in its place, if I manage, it'll make him happy too. Okay, this is really, really something that I've become aware of over the last number of years and have very much incorporated into my life, being grateful. I could talk for hours about being grateful. It sounds simple. It's not always. Sometimes it is. Most of the time, it's a consciousness. If we take upon ourselves to work on the consciousness of being grateful, it can change our lives. And being grateful has so many different levels. Like I said, I had an amazingly enjoyable and productive quarantine time. But it's not a given. First of all, it's not a given because a lot of people have are really alone and don't have all the different supplies that I had and don't have a loving family on the other side of the door bringing me food. Just on the level of my personal quarantine experience, I have so much to be grateful for. My family could have brought me food begrudgingly. They could have delayed and taken hours and forgotten about me. They would inquire, Ima, how you doing? Ima, do you need food? They would call me. They would inquire how I was doing. And it made the experience so much more positive. And they were so catering to me. It was really, really special, especially my little girl who's looking up at me from the other side of the computer. Thank you. So, now, on the other side of that, being thankful and grateful and appreciative, you know, like I said, there's a lot of people who had much different experiences or are having much different experiences with their quarantine. Now, I could spend my entire day sitting around and thinking about all the people who are sick and all the people who are really alone and all the people who don't have other people to take care of them. And would that help anybody? Would it help anybody for me to sit around and be miserable about other people's lousy situations? No, it really wouldn't. It wouldn't help anybody, and it certainly wouldn't help me, and it certainly wouldn't help the people that I'm interacting with. Now, this is a thought that, hang on a second. This is a thought that I really, really take into real life, because do you know what? We all always have so much to be grateful for. And there's always people not necessarily very far from us who have a lot of difficulties going on. They also have things to be grateful for, different things than I do. We all have our challenges. We all have our gratefulness. And one of the most amazing things about the human mind, body, and soul is that I can simultaneously exist on different channels. I can be deeply in tune with the thousands and millions of things that I have to be grateful for. And I can also simultaneously be deeply in tune with situations around me where other people need help or are in a difficult place, and I can be sensitive to them. And they don't contradict, and they can coincide, they can exist simultaneously within me. And I think one of the challenges that all of us have is to balance that. When do I nourish me? When do I help someone else? When do I do both at the same time? And it's a very, very personal thing. But no matter how you slice it, it's very important to always be nourishing both of those things. There's a singer called Yehuda Galans, and he has a song. I wrote down the words in Hebrew. I'm going to translate for you. Adam yechol liot atzuv lifamim. A person can be sad sometimes. Aval tzarich lizkor, but it's important to remember, et hasimcha, the simcha, the happiness, gam kshe'ata atzuv. So this is really the same idea that I just said, that both can coexist simultaneously and should. And it makes me a more rich and sensitive and caring person if I manage. One more example that I'm going to give you. I think most of you know, maybe all of you know, some of you know, my son, I can now say, my son had cancer. He is now healthy and and working out like crazy. Dina, you could not imagine what's going on here. So while we were dealing with this whole cancer thing, when I was feeling down and challenged, I pushed myself to say, Shari, you don't have to be being strong right now. You can be feeling down, and that's okay. And when I was feeling up and coping and strong, I didn't have to say, Shari, why are you flowing over here? Your son's got cancer. You should be feeling challenged. The reality is that I went up and I went down, and I went up and I went down. And we do that. We go up and down. That's what we do in life. Hello, Susan and Karen, who have joined us. I'd love to see your pictures if you want to turn on your video, and if you don't, that's okay too. So we naturally go up and down. And one of the most freeing and healthy things that I was able to do with the whole cancer thing was be where I am and not beat myself up about where I'm not. Now that might sound simple and it might even sound silly, but for me it was extremely, extremely powerful. And I feel like it's similar to the idea that we were just talking about. Okay, now I want to pause. And I want to see if any of you have any questions or comments at the moment. I'd love to hear someone else's voice. Any chance? No, nothing? Are we doing okay? Is this going in? Is this resonating anything to anybody? Thumbs up from Dina.
Hi, I just want to tell you I love you. It's Elaine.
Thanks, Elaine. I love you too.
But I was in New York a week ago, and so when I came home, I had to self-isolate. And I'm also, I don't want to say I'm a senior, but I'm of that age group. And
but you're a few years older than me, so that's okay.
Well, right. So anyway, so it's really been very wonderful because I just was writing down the things that I want to take with me. And one of the things is that I don't have to be out and about to help people. Because I have been learning with people on the phone. Can I share one quick thing and then I'll get off?
Sure.
I have this group of young men who I was their teacher, and I'm now their bookie. Called me up last week and they said, we want to learn Pirkei Avos with you. And so they did something on WhatsApp, and we saw each other and we learned Pirkei Avos together. And when you're talking about, technology, so I wanted to share that with you. I'll shut up.
Thank you. Thank you, Elaine. Okay. Anyone else? Anything else? From Susan, thank you. Okay, I can't read that whole thing, but I'm going to read it afterwards. Okay. Okay, a very small point, but a very enormous point, which is in quarantine, not in quarantine, self-quarantine. It's just a corona point. Ladies, I encourage you to actively choose what and how much news to listen to, what and how many of all the different WhatsApp things that are flying, the funny things, the depressing things, the scary things, the uplifting things. It's our choice. And I really encourage you to choose what and how much according to your personal soul's needs. Some people have a need to be totally connected all the time, the latest, I have to know it all. And some people, it just stresses me. I learned this years and years ago when the terrorist attacks. I don't listen to the news. All it does is stress me and make me upset. And then I'm a bad mom because I'm stressed and I'm not, it's just not good. And my reaction to all of these things in the past was the most important thing that I can do is add good, is to be relaxed, is to be a good mom. So the less I know, the better. Just let me keep going. In this particular situation, I'm plenty connected. Thanks, Dina. I'm plenty connected. And I do keep track of things because it's important. I need to know what I'm allowed to do, what I'm not allowed to do, and all that kind of stuff. To the extent that is appropriate for my mind, body, and soul. That is what I need to listen to. And when and how much and from who. So that's a small thing that is a big thing. And I encourage you all. Yes, Dina.
Sorry,
Unmute, yeah.
I'm making breakfast. I'm turning off the fan. Yeah, I found a lot
This
of
is Dina, my niece, for those of you who didn't know that.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing, especially, you know, I live in Canada and it's a big thing because everyone just wants to be up on the news every second of the day. And what I've started doing is just looking at the news once a day, getting the briefing. Trudeau's been doing a briefing at 9 a.m. Just get the briefing that you need, find out what you need for that day, because it's going to change. So at some point you just kind of have to, you know, limit it, get what you need to get, and then get off.
I'm so all over that.
Too much. Yeah.
Okay, next. Okay, so this, I'm getting back to the phone. To the phone, technology, computer, iPad, whatever it is you're using to connect to the world. I had a late night conversation with one of my alumni on the phone. He is presently living with his Alzheimer's mother and challenging stepfather. And so I checked in with him and we had a good chat and gave him a little support. And we talked about the phone and we talked about how this same machir, how do you say machir? Just a minute. Device. This same device can connect me to Torah classes. It can help me develop a new hobby. It can wash out my brain on Netflix movies all day long. It can fill my brain with garbage. It can waste my time. It's all possible. And the bottom line is, it's in my hand and I decide which buttons to push. And he really liked that line, and I did too. It just sort of came up between us that I decide which buttons to push. And it's amazing to me. It is amazing to me how true that is and how, you want well? You can go. Bye-bye. To me, it's a very, very powerful thing. And I struggled with it. You know, when you're in four walls by yourself all day long, it's really easy to check what's up every 30 seconds and watch all the different funny and stupid and inspiring videos that people send. And I can listen to Shari all day and I managed to find a balance. I definitely was still on my phone too much. I even managed to just put it aside and do other things completely not connected. But that's it. I put it out there to you as a challenge, and I encourage you all, us all, our children, to choose wisely and to push buttons that will ultimately bring good into our lives, into our beings, into our souls, that will enrich us on any level, right? One of my sons today wanted to learn how to make a certain kind of macrame bracelet, and he went onto YouTube and he got the tutorial. He has learned the most incredible things over YouTube. The sky's the limit. The sky's absolutely the limit. Okay. Which buttons to push? Okay, this was an important one. This was a short video clip that came
Shari,
to me
can
from
I just say
Torah.
one thing?
Yes, dear.
when you have, can you hear me?
I hear you. Now I don't hear you.
When you
Now I
talk,
hear you.
when you're talking, when you're talking about, when you're talking about pushing the buttons, we can, like you said before, we can push the spiritual buttons or not. We can push the negative emotional buttons or the positive emotional buttons. So
Totally.
it's that way also.
Totally. I just, before I started this, I saw something that I've gotten from a couple different lists. It's a little diagram with a circle and what's inside the circle and what's outside the circle. What's inside the circle is what's in my control, and what's outside the circle is what's out of my control. And it's a very specific corona related one. It's in Hebrew. But it's helpful for me to remember, you know, how I react to things is in my control. Which buttons I push is in my control. How other people react or follow the rules or whatever is not in my control. What's going to happen, what's going on, what the future is going to hold, not in my control. That's one of my general life lessons that I try to pass on to people is what's mine is mine and what's not is not. If I'm in an argument with somebody or I have a disagreement with somebody. So I can only control me and what I think and what I say and my reaction. I am not responsible for how that person takes it. I need to speak sensitively. I need to be aware of that person's feelings and needs. But my husband's favorite line is if somebody is nifga, if somebody is insulted by something, that's theirs. It's their decision. It's not my decision. Again, that doesn't take away my responsibility to be sensitive to others and speak in a way that's kind and all that stuff. But I'm responsible for what I have control over, which really is very little. Okay, so Rav Tzvi. Rav Tzvi, I didn't write down his last name, from Esha Torah. He gave this very short little blurb about the corona reality. And he spoke about how he told a few stories. He told a story about some people who were in line in the supermarket and making snide comments about the person whose shopping cart was really full, about, you know, why aren't you leaving things for the rest of us? And he told a couple stories like that. And then he told another story about somebody who was in quarantine, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, all these things show up at the door, Amazon packages and food packages, and the whole world was just being really kind and generous to him, and how blown away he was by this. So he brought these two stories as an example of we can choose how to react in this kind of a situation. And people's true colors tend to shine in situations like this. Where am I going to put my focus? Am I going to put my focus on me and what I need and take care of myself? That's important. It's important to take care of myself. It's important to take care of my family. But how am I doing that? Am I doing that in an aggressive, not nice, stomp all over other people kind of way? Like the lady in the supermarket making a snide and not very nice comment? Am I going to do it in a kind and loving way? Am I going to do it and simultaneously think of how I can help others? If I'm out of quarantine and my neighbor's in quarantine, am I going to send her some food? Am I going to, I've been blown away by all the different organizations and projects that are out there to help people. Just a couple examples in Keshet where we live. There's the Noar, the youth. So we came to a point where we're allowing a certain number of people in the supermarket, the local neighborhood supermarket at a time. And a lot of people are in quarantine and couldn't necessarily get there, or are older or sick and don't necessarily want to go out. So the Noar, the youth, organized that they will take people's orders, package them and bring them to their house. You just call up, make your order, send your order on WhatsApp, and one of the kids who's up and around and available will package it up for you. So my son actually got a call one day. The youth director was coordinating it. So he called up my son. Are you available to do an order for somebody? Sure, no problem. Got the list on WhatsApp, went to the store, packaged it up, brought it to her house. I thought that was the most amazing project. They also posted technological help. A lot of people who are now stuck in their homes and they want to do more meetings like this, or, you know, there's Noar who know a lot about technology. We'll come over, we'll help you, we'll teach you what you need to know. And it's endless, right? I'm still connected to all the, you know, cancer parents lists and stuff because of my son. And they're sending all kinds of little videos and ideas, offering help. There's so many different theaters who have put all kinds of things online. The outpouring of giving that we see around us is absolutely endless. And it really, all it just takes is each one of us to think, okay, what do I have to offer? Who can I help? It's a totally different headspace than fending for myself in a negative, aggressive, excluding others kind of way. I'm imagining somebody like trying to climb to the top and not being concerned who he steps on the way, right? So it's not like that, and it shouldn't be like that. Okay, so again, it's balance, right? In the gratitude and in the being grateful for what I have and being sensitive to other people's needs, in the taking care of myself and making sure my and my family's needs are met, and what can I do for other people? It's all about balance. There's many, many, many things in our lives that are about balance. And one of the most one of the points that Rav Tzvi most emphasized was doing so caringly and compassionately. It's often not what I do, but how I do it, right? In any day, regular everyday life, if I'm making my kids lunch, right? I can make it, here's your food. What do you want? Or I can make it lovingly and kindly, and because I want to give and share and think of things that they enjoy and how. It's not just the what, it's the how. So that's another good one. Any questions or comments? Smiles, are you with me? Are you happy? Is it good? Nod, thumb, great, okay. Okay, we got 20 more minutes and then I get kicked out. Let's see if I can get through all I wanted to say. Okay, I talked a little bit about this, not taking anything, when I talked about gratitude, not taking anything for granted. Not taking anything for granted. In the world we're living in right now, we can't take anything for granted. We can't take walking out of our house for granted, because, you know, one day you can and the next day you can't. And going shopping, you can't take for granted. You can't take anything for granted. I want to share with you, כמובן מאליו. Okay, I talked before about the room service with a smile. I want to share with you, having nothing to do with quarantine, just the concept of not taking anything for granted, which got even stronger during quarantine. My son, who is a mempe, I don't know what that is in English, in the army, he does a session for his soldiers often where he speaks about several different people, inspiring figures with inspiring stories, and how much we can get from thinking about them. And it also teaches us this whole idea of not taking things for granted. So I do this also, that I get inspired by certain demuyot, people, figures, personalities. So one of them is my cancer son's, a boy in his class, who they're now 18, but 5 years ago they were 13. And when Asaf was a week before his bar mitzvah, living in a neighboring community from here, he had a tragic fall, and he climbed up onto a certain building to get a ball down that had been thrown up, and got caught, and he fell, and on his way down he grabbed a wire that the top of this building should have been roped off and guarded. It is now, and thank God he's alive to tell about it, but he almost wasn't. He grabbed a wire with a tremendous amount of voltage in it and fell to the ground. And he's a big joker, so everyone thought he was joking. I'm not going to tell you the whole long story. The long and short of it is, real miracle. He should have been a pile of carbon, but he only lost both arms below the elbow. He was in the hospital for a very long time, and his name is Asaf Yassur. You can look him up. He will hopefully be representing Israel in the Taekwondo in the Olympics, whenever there will be one Olympics. He is an inspiration to all of us, how he continued life with no hands and came up on top like unbelievable. I could talk about Asaf forever. I do a ropes course where one of the tasks that we do is we hold a hula hoop. Thank you. We all hold a hula hoop on our finger around in a circle, and we have to lower it. So when I start this task, I say, everyone put out your index finger. And then I stop and I say, does everybody have an index finger? And I bring to their attention that it is not a given that you have an index finger. It's not a given that you have a nose. I once taught swimming to a girl without a nose. Nothing is a given, right? One of the other personalities that I find incredibly inspiring is Helen Keller. She couldn't see, she couldn't hear, she couldn't talk, and she changed the world. I'm reading now to Shiratila, a book about Helen Keller's teacher, who's also an incredible Jmoot that people hear less about. Don't take anything for granted. Nothing. So that's deeply connected to the grateful thing. Be grateful and don't take anything for granted. They're connected, but they're not exactly the same. Oh, and the other Jmoot that you can look up on the internet is Nick, just write N-I-C-K, Nick with a V, Nick Vujicic. He's a guy who was born with no arms and no legs. And I remember when my now 12-year-old daughter was in first grade, she fell and broke her leg, and we had to deal with a hip to ankle cast in a first grader. And it was challenging. It was really, really challenging. And I remember so many times I said to myself, if Nick can do it, we can do it. If Nick can be the most incredibly positive and inspiring person in the universe with no arms and no legs from birth, we can handle 6 weeks with a hip to ankle cast. So we got through it, and she's got really long legs now, and they're both healthy. Okay, we're moving along. Dina, we got to you. I had a great conversation with Dina the other day. And we talked about her self-imposed semi-quarantine and my otherwise imposed quarantine and different things that we were getting out of it. And one of the things that Dina said to me was that she's choosing to reach out to people. And that's one of the things that I definitely did during my quarantine. And I'm trying to keep at it. I'm trying to think, okay, who might be in a difficult time right now? And who could I reach out and extend an ear or heart or shoulder to, even if it's virtually? It really helps people when someone who loves them reaches out and calls them and says, how you doing? Even if there's nothing that I can technically do because I'm far away, I can't really improve their situation, but just caring enough to call and reach out and say, hi, I love you, I'm thinking about you, can really help pick somebody up. So that's true in quarantine, and that's true anytime. So that was one thing. And wait, I wrote down this quote. This was what, I wrote it down. In the weirdest way, I have so much freedom, even though I am stuck in a small space. So that was what Dina said to me. And it was a very, very powerful thing at that moment, that freedom to choose. And really, I have no control over anything. And I have the freedom to choose so much. And both of those seemingly conflicting sentences are both true. So I need to keep that in mind. Okay, I think we're at the last main point over here. And that is the power of prayer. We spoke before about being alone, you know, the power of being alone and getting to know myself and giving myself place and space in this world. The power of prayer is enormous. And wait, who was this? This actually comes from a class that was given in the virtual Beit Midrash, I think yesterday. A rabbi called Chaim Richman, I think. Chaim Richman, and he gave a really nice class. And one of the things he talked about is Noach. Noah and the ark, remember him? So if you take the word ark, what are you doing? And switch around the ARK to RAK, right? We usually do this in Hebrew, but he did it in English. RAK stands for random. Oh, there's Tal. Everybody say hi, Tal. That's my daughter's friend. I'm just kind of conveniently hiding her because I like the picture. Random acts of kindness. Random acts of kindness change the world. But besides that, he spoke about Noach. He spoke about Noach, who was considered a tzaddik in his generation. Now, Noach was told to build an ark because God's going to destroy the world. Noach built an ark. Does anybody remember how long it took for Noach to build the ark? Guesses? 120 years. That's a long time. Now, what was happening during these 120 years? Noach did not run around thumping his Bible saying, hear ye, the end of the world is nigh, repent and be saved. He didn't do that. He just built his ark. And if people came by and said, Noach, hey, Noach, what you doing? I'm building an ark because God's going to destroy the world and I'm going to go in the ark and be safe. And they all just thought he was crazy and kept on with their day. Noach, when he came out of the ark, he cried to God. And so what is I think it might be the Midrash says, Noach, why are you crying to me now? Where you been? He didn't, I'm not criticizing Noach. I'm learning from his experience. Noach did the best that he could with what he had, and ultimately he saved the world. We have tremendous hakarat hatov. We have tremendous gratitude to Noach for what he did. However, we ask the question, had he done it a little differently, right? Corona, had he done it a little differently, would the continuation of the story been different? Had Noach prayed, cried out, God, why do you want to save the world? Maybe we could fix it. How could we fix it? If more effort was put into prayer and random acts of kindness and trying to get people to wake up and smell the coffee, maybe there wouldn't have been a flood. I never really thought about it, which surprises me because now that he said it, I was like, oh gosh, why didn't I ever think of that? So it's a worthwhile thing to think of. So I don't think the end of the world's coming. I don't think Corona is going to destroy the world. But I do think that the Corona reality gives us a lot of food for thought. Are we praying? Are we asking? Are we asking for God to heal the people who are sick? Are we asking to learn the messages that we're supposed to learn so that this horrible thing can finish and the world can be an improved place? There's so many different videos going around. Rabbi Manis Friedman sent one around. There's one from the BBC. All kinds of different videos going around talking about, yes, there is pain, yes, there is sickness, but how much great stuff is going on. The BBC one talks about how, yes, there is pain, yes, there is sickness, yes, people are dying, but now there's much less pollution because there's less traffic and you can hear the birds sing. And she lists all these different good things that are coming out of the Corona. And unfortunately, sometimes we need a wake-up call. And, you know, I'm not one of those people who's going to say, this is the reason why God sent Corona. But clearly it's not an accident. Clearly, to me, it's intended by someone way greater than me that this is supposed to be happening. We're supposed to be going through this. When my little baby, I had a little baby who died when she was 4 days old. And the message of her life to the world was not lama. Lama in Hebrew means what. But if you change the vowel that says ah to a vowel that says you change lama to lima. You change why to for what. All the different challenging things that come to us in our lives are there to make us stop, think, grow, look for the good. What can we fix? What can I fix in myself? What can I fix in my family? What can I fix in community? What random acts of kindness can I send out into the universe? How can I improve my attitude? How can I, emanate, send out positive vibes into the world? If I'm sitting in my house being totally stressed and totally depressed, I am not helping anything. If I am just thinking positive thoughts, if I am truly, deeply believing that some good is going to come out of this crazy reality that we're living right now, if I send those positive thoughts out into the universe, I believe that it's going to make a difference. Even if it's just what I'm feeling inside. I believe that it'll make a difference. Okay, any questions or comments or alternative speeches while I see if there's anything else I wanted to say? Oh, come on, somebody's got something to say. A question? Something? Oh, Esther, you're thinking. Nothing? No hands? Okay, but are we still thumbs up? Because I'm almost done. Thumbs up, okay. Okay, I've been out of quarantine for 3 days. Thanks to you, I'm still thinking about a lot of the things that I learned. Thank you, Susan. And I'm working hard, you know? My kids are at home. I'm trying to I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful that my kids are big. Shirachila is my youngest, and she's pretty big. I can look up to her right now. This would be so much harder if I was home with small children. And I send supportive messages to my daughter-in-law every so often, because she is. And my kids are much more independent, and they help. And that makes this reality much, much easier. But you know what? I still want to give them attention. And there's still laundry to be done because I'm no longer stuck in my room and they have to do it all. And there's still food to be made. They help cook, but I do some. And there's stuff that I want to do. I want to do more crafts, and I want to do more classes, and I want to do more of all the things that I did was in quarantine. But there's not necessarily enough time. There's never enough time in the day for all the things that I want to do. So I have to prioritize. That was one of the things I wanted to say. I have to prioritize. I have to remember to balance. And I have to remember to be relaxed and positive and pray. I think I'm done. Somebody's got to say something though, because I need to hear another voice. No, nothing? Okay.
You're
Avram, are you still there? Dina, did you say something?
You're fantastic.
Oh, I love you, sweetheart.
Yeah, yes, I'm still
I want to
here.
really, really, really thank you all for coming. And maybe we'll do this again, maybe not, we'll have to see. And you mothers of our boys, be strong. They're in a good place, they're doing good things. And to whatever extent we can be of help, we're here for them. And I love you all. Abraham, what do I do now?
Okay, well, first of all, there's going to be another shir in a few minutes, and everyone is welcome to stay. No one has to leave. The Rav Yeshua is going to be coming on if you'd like that. And I want to thank everybody and for coming on. Oh, there's Rav Yeshua right there. Hey, Rav Yeshua.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, I was just letting everybody know that everyone is welcome to stay for your shir as well if they'd like.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And all right, and then well, thank you very much, Shari. That was a beautiful shir that you gave. And so you know, we're still recording. Rav Yeshua, it's still recording on YouTube Live right now. Should I just let it keep running? Or should we, or I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll stop this one. And then what I'll do is I'll start another, if you want, I'll start another one for you. How's that sound?
Sure, sounds great.
Okay, hang on.